and welcome to this session about the West Sussex MHST Whole School Wellbeing Reflective Tool. My name is Vic Machin and I am a mental health advisory teacher with thought for the West Sussex Mental Health Support Team. This webinar is specifically for schools who are not MHST schools. If you are an MHST school and have thoughtful input in your school, please go to the other video which explains the process for MHST schools. The aims of this webinar are to understand the context behind the reflective tool and to be able to use the reflective tool in your setting. So the tool is designed to help and support you with your whole school approach to emotional wellbeing and mental health. It looks at the 8 principles of a whole school approach and asks questions about each area. By completing the questions, you should be able to identify what's working well for your whole school approach and any areas you would like to develop. The 8 principles were identified by Public Health England in 2015 when they published their guidance promoting children's and young people's mental health and well-being, a whole school and college approach. These 8 areas are leadership and management, ethos and environment, curriculum teaching and learning, student voice, staff development, identifying need and monitoring impact, working with parents and carers, and targeted support. For each of the 8 areas, the reflective tool has 4 straightforward questions for you to answer. Before you start to delve into the tool, it's worth having a discussion about who will be filling it in. The natural person who springs to mind is the mental health lead themselves. However, in the pilot stage of the reflective tool, it emerged that the SMHL alone is not able to give a true picture of the school's wellbeing provision. This is because there are things which they are aware of, but which perhaps is not shared knowledge across the whole school community. The SMHL should absolutely take ownership of the tool and the resulting action plan. However, getting other people on board is also crucial to getting a true 360 picture of the existing wellbeing provision. If you would like to open out the questions to all staff, we also have a staff questionnaire available which can be sent out to staff prior to your focus group. Perhaps you would like to pause the video now and have a think about who will be in that main focus group. Try to consider how you will include members of staff from all different areas of your staff team. Who would be most useful and who would be representative? It's also worth bearing in mind that we have pupil versions of the tool also available, which allow groups of pupils the opportunity to really think deeply about the wellbeing provision. If you have mental health ambassadors, this would be an excellent project for them, or alternatively, you might want to consider giving it to your school council or other pupil voice groups to complete. So looking now at the tool itself, its main iteration comes in the form of an Excel document. However, there are also printable paper versions which can be printed to aid sharing and collective discussion. These can be found at the back of the accompanying guidance booklet. When you open the document, you will find that the main section consists of the statements themselves, and for each of the 8 areas, we have developed 4 core statements. The 4 core statements are designed to get to the heart of each area, and you would score your provision for each question according to the 5-scale traffic light system. This will then give you an overall score for each of the 8 areas. So, for example, in the area of leadership and management, we have these 4 statements, each of which you would give your school, a score out of 5. So we have a named mental health lead in the school who is well supported to initiate change at SLT level and whose role is given appropriate protected time and status. We have a named governor with responsibility for emotional wellbeing and mental health at strategic level. SLT model positive behaviours and attitudes which promote emotional wellbeing and mental health. And emotional wellbeing and mental health are considered and referenced in school improvement plans, policies and the curriculum, and there is a clear graduated response strategy in place at universal, targeted and individual level. If we look very briefly at the first area, leadership and management, the first question is this. We have a named senior mental health lead in the school who is well supported to initiate change at SLT level and whose role is given appropriate protected time and status. So having considered the statement, you would then need to make a judgment based on this 5-point traffic light scale. So for this particular question, if you didn't have a named senior mental health lead and haven't even started to think about that role, you would likely mark your current status as red, activity not yet started, which would give you a score of 1. If you perhaps had written a job description for the role but had not yet appointed someone within the school to carry it out, then you might mark yourself as a score of 2, orange. If maybe you had appointed a senior mental health lead and they were just beginning to develop their role, you might decide you are currently at a 3 level. If on the other hand you have an SMHL, but perhaps the role isn't quite what it could be, or perhaps they're not yet able to input into school policy, or you have not yet been able to ensure they have enough protected time to carry out their role, you may choose to grade yourself at a light green 4. Or if you have an SMHL who is working efficiently within their role and is able to feed into school policy as well as has a visible profile around the school and is embedding good practice, then you might like to give a grade 5, dark green. Have a quick think now about where you would currently place your school on the scale for this first statement. Some questions, it might be quite straightforward to use the scale and grade your current provision. However, and this will vary from school to school, for other questions you may not be able to make the decision quite so easily. And for these questions, you may want to take a look at the supporting questions which come in the guidance booklet. These can be helpful for when you perhaps can't agree on what scale to grade your provision at for a particular question. So looking at the initial statement, we have a named senior mental health lead in the school who is well supported to initiate change at SLT level and whose role is given appropriate protected time and status. The set of supporting questions to provoke further discussion are: is the SMHL a member of SLT? If not, do they have the opportunity to attend SLT meetings and input into them? Does the SMHL have dedicated time to carry out the role? Is everyone in school aware of who your SMHL is, including staff, pupils and parents? Has your SMHL had CPD to allow them to develop their role? Is the SMHL able to access supervision? Is the SMHL aware of resources to support a whole school approach to emotional wellbeing and mental health, e.g. from the Mentally Healthy Schools Project, the Anna Freud Centre or Charlie Waller Trust, etc.? Is the SMHL aware of local and national services and quality resources to support emotional wellbeing and mental health? So it's hoped that by discussing these optional questions, you should be able to give a more informed score to the main question. It is worth remembering, though, that these additional questions are not definitive and they're not supposed to be prescriptive. They were added as an extra layer for those who would like a little more guidance and are designed to provoke thought and discussion. So once you have filled in a score for each of the 4 statements in any particular area, an overall score for that area would be generated. So in this example, for the area of leadership management, the school has scored an overall 4, light green. And once you have scored each of the 4 statements in each of the 8 areas, you will then get an overview which looks like this, giving you a very quick visual representation of where the strengths lie in your wellbeing provision, so for this school in leadership and management, and where might be your priorities for development. So in this school's case, audit and monitoring is being flagged as an area for development. The same information is also shown on the spreadsheet in spidergram form. So again, you can see here that the leadership and management area is where the school is doing really well, and the audit and monitoring has been identified as the area where they may want to prioritise development. So after you've explored your overall score, you will be ready to start to put your action plan together, perhaps starting with the areas of greatest need. One resource that we recommend when it comes to planning our whole school approach is the Mentally Healthy Schools Workbook. This book by Pookie Knight-Smith is an excellent support guide to create an action plan around whole school wellbeing and has some fantastic suggestions as to things that you can implement to support your work in any of the areas of whole school wellbeing. I will now invite you to spend some time looking through the tool. If you do have any questions or comments, please do pop them in the YouTube chat below. And before we finish, I'd just like to draw your attention to the fact that at the end of the tool, we have also included any linked Ofsted criteria which can be addressed by using the tool. The criteria has been updated for the Ofsted guidance for September 2021, so we hope that it will be a useful addendum to the tool. In terms of next steps, we are now inviting all West Sussex schools to use the tool free of charge. We ask you to take it back to your school and use it as a living document and use it however you see fit. Have a go at giving it an initial try. The pilot group said that the initial filling in of the document took them around 2 hours and provided them with a very quick overview of their provision. Share your findings with other members of your school community and invite them to engage with the tool alongside you. From there, you should get your school's diagnosis, the spidergram and overall scores, from which point you can go ahead and create your action plan according to the areas which have been highlighted in terms of needing more development. We hope you have found this webinar useful and that the tool is something that will enhance your understanding of your well-being provision in school and help you to form an action plan going forward. Many thanks for listening, and please do check out our other public YouTube videos available on our Thoughtful channel. Bye bye.